Hi, I'm Stasha and I'm making my first Flosstube video. I appreciate that Carlene introduced me to Flosstubes. I have stitched more in 2 weeks than I have in the entire 4 months of this year. And Laurel and Annette suggested that I make a Flosstube video, so we're going to try this and see how it goes. Stasha is my name. It has nothing to do with my hobby. It has everything to do with a D&D game in college when a fighter walked into a tavern, walked up to a thief and said, "Hey, can I buy you a drink?" And I said, "Yes, I drink wine." The fighter then said, "So what do I call you?" And I said, "Well, my name's Shondratasha. My friends call me Sean. You can call me Tosh." He says, "Well, I think I'm going to call you Stasha." And it's stuck. Ever since then, all my friends have called me Stasha. And when I came on the internet, I used Shondratasha as my handle for everything, and more people know me as Stasha than the name my mother gave me now. So this is Stasha, this is me, this is what you see is what you get. This is going to be a completely unedited video because I haven't figured out how to work the editing stuff. So let's start with Know Your Needleworker. The questions for Know Your Needleworker are: where do you live? I live in Utah. I live 10 minutes from 123 Stitch. And if you've ever ordered on 123 Stitch, you'll notice that they have a local pickup. That's my option. What do I do for a living? I'm a product owner for NCR. I work on the interactive teller machine, and it's a really cool product. But the other thing I do is I am a realtor, and I help people find the perfect house. My husband is a realtor, and I originally got my license to help him, but it's kind of been fun to do it on my own. So do I have any children? I have 3 children. I have my oldest daughter is Liz. She is a vet tech at an exotic animal hospital. Yeah, when I said exotic, something else went through your mind, didn't it? And then my middle child is Light, and my youngest is James. Do you have any pets? We currently have 2 beagles at home. They are rescues. They were found in 2 different states, and they are brother and sister from the same litter. You know, they definitely belonged in our house. Jock is the older one, and, well, they're the same litter. They're twins. Jock was born before Boaz, though Boaz was the runt of the litter. We found Jock in Spanish Fork, Utah, when a family that had a baby found out that their baby was deathly allergic to the dog and sold him. And we bought him. And then a week later, we saw an advertisement for this cute little girl that looked a lot like the boy we already had. So we called on that, and it turned out that they were brother and sister, and they've been separated 2 weeks of their lives, and they've been together ever since. They get really upset if they're out of sight of each other for very long. So that's been kind of nice, having the dogs to take care of each other. Now, prior to my daughter moving out, we also had a bird, a lizard, and a snake living in the house, but they all moved out with her, and I kind of miss the bird and the lizard. Don't miss the snake. Do not miss the snake. So what are my other hobbies besides stitching? I am a fiber artist. That means I quilt, I needlepoint, I weave, I crochet, I do lace work. I do not knit. When my grandmother went to teach me to knit, she finally gave up and said, "You know, Stasha, your sisters need something they can do better than you. They can knit. Let them knit." And they do knit. One of my younger sisters makes absolutely gorgeous Norwegian sweaters. And I don't know if the other two stuck with it or not. But I never learned to knit. I'm not that great at spinning either. And you know what? Don't have time to go back and learn it again. I also read a lot. You can find me on Goodreads under Shondratasha. And I like volunteering. I volunteer for the symphony. I volunteer for Comic-Con. I volunteer for United Way. Don't volunteer for Red Cross very often, just because they never leave you alone once you volunteer for them once. What is my favorite movie? I love classic music. I love the classic movies. I like the screwball comedies from the 30s with Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy and Cary Grant. My favorite movie is Casablanca. If we come forward a little bit, I like Star Wars. I like we don't we pretend the prequel doesn't exist. Like the Star Trek movies, and I really enjoyed the editing in Highlander. It definitely deserved the Oscar. I especially like the cut scene where you're in the garage in New York, and then it goes up and you're back on the lake in Scotland. Love that cut. Serenity is another favorite movie, which leads us into TV shows. And here's the itchy nose thing. Serenity leads us into Firefly, which is one of my favorite TV shows, even though it got canceled. I like Star Trek. I like Doctor Who. I like British crime procedurals, Murdoch mysteries from Canada, Phryne Fisher mysteries from Australia, Foley's War from the BBC, and a lot of the great BBC mysteries. Can't forget Sherlock. CSI for American-made shows. What is my favorite book? I'm on Goodreads. There are over 1,800 titles on Goodreads that I've read. I have favorite genres. I have favorite authors. Probably can't name a favorite book. So I love Tolkien. I love Patricia McKillip. I love Ray Bradbury. McKillip and Bradbury I like because of their metaphors and the way they weave words together. Those are just incredible. And C.S. Lewis, A.A. Milne, Anne McCaffrey, Mercedes Lackey, Jim Butcher, and my kids tell me I would love Brandon Sanderson if I would just sit down and read them. Patrick Rothfuss, I'm loving his series right now. I just wish we would get the last book. My favorite music, like a lot of music, I love the way Light puts it. Light says, music is like candy. There's so many varieties. It can be soft and sweet. It can be mellow. It can be hard. It can be tangy. But in all cases, you should throw out the wrappers. And I agree with him. I never got into rap, never quite understood it. So classical to punk, rock. One of the things I've been doing with my kids is taking them to see bands that I loved growing up before the bands die off. Things like Rush. My kids were lucky enough to see Rush before they stopped touring. The Who, Asia, some great bands that aren't going to be around forever. What is the one word that best describes me? I have been described more often as energetic and passionate. I get really passionate about things I like, things I love, and can go a little overboard, kind of like my stitching. So that's the Know Your Needleworker tag. And we can move on to Stitch Mania. No, wait, you want haul first. Now, there won't always be a lot of haul because I'm limiting myself to $25 per month this year for Stash. I have some things I need to get paid off. But I kind of went overboard in April because how often does Hancock's close? So I was able to get a bolt of 14 count Aida that is a 60-inch width, 3.5 yards. No, I have not stitched a Hade, Heaven and Earth Designs. I have not stitched a Scarlet Quince, and I have not stitched, what are those people with the fractals? Yeah, I haven't stitched any of those full coverage pieces. The only full coverage piece I've ever done was I did a model stitch for Gandalf for Eterna Silks. And that was enough for a full coverage piece, especially when I didn't get to keep it. But also at Hancock Fabrics, I picked up a bolt of white. And as a quilter, you can never have enough background. So white is a nice background. And then I have a bolt of a nice gray-black. Again, a neutral color. And in the Hancock's books, there was this Civil War sampler. Okay, that looks bizarre. It looks upside down to me. I guess that's what happens when you do selfies. And I also got the Donna Cooler stocking collection. And so I'd never seen that one before, so that's why I picked it up, 35% off. And then a friend of mine moved back to Minnesota, and she gave me a bunch of her stash that she didn't want to take with her and told me, feel free to sell it if you don't like it. I pulled out a few of the things I liked, but one of the things I found the last time I went through it was the Celtic Noel, Celtic Christmas. And I will keep that one. And now on to Stash Mania. That's the haul for April. So I have not stitched on any of my own pieces at all this year. So what I have stitched on is a piece for my church. I have made 4 copies of this. This is Believe. And okay, I guess when you do the selfie thing, things look backwards. I'm hoping it posts correctly, but I have stitched 3 copies of this and got somebody else to stitch the 4th one because the church needed one for each of the 4 buildings where the women's auxiliary groups meet. So now that I've finished those and finished the quilt for my son James, who is living in St. Louis, I can now start working on my own stuff. So Stitch Mania is 2 days each of 15 whips from my collection of 34 whips. 34 whips is down from 68. I find I get really twitchy and nervous if I get over 35. So I'm trying to get it down to 15. So right now we're just no new starts unless we finish 2 projects. And I'm still trying to think how the 4 Believes fit in because they really weren't on the whip list before. But I started by stitching Autumn Queen, and I completed my 2 days on her. I started Friday on the 30th, Saturday on the 30th, so a little sooner. And so I got 1,000 stitches in over 3 days. Then the last time I worked on Autumn Queen, by the way, was July 2015. The next one is Overdyed Dragon, which was a class project from Jennifer Aikman Smith of Dragon Dreams. It is a blackwork piece. Why somebody like me who hates backstitching would take a blackwork class? Not sure. But hey, it worked. And it's the piece I have closest to done. I last worked on it in September 2015. After that, I'll be working on my Doctor Who quilt from Fandom and Stitches. Pictures of all these whips are on my blog, just so you know. The address for that is shondratasha.wordpress.com. I'll put the link into it at the bottom of the video. Then after the Doctor Who quilt, I'll be working on Anniversary Roses, which was a Lauren Sauer class from EGA. You should not find any pictures of Anniversary Roses on the internet. As part of the class, Lauren asked us not to post any pictures on the internet. She has had copyright issues in the past, and she does not publish her designs as much as teach classes on them. And she really doesn't want the pictures on the internet. If you're going to get one of her classes, she'll send you the pictures by email of what the projects are, and you can choose from that. So the last time I worked on that was October 2015. So again, no love this year for any of these pieces. The next one I have is the Fruit Bell Pull. This is a Teresa Wentzler design. I am 60% completed with this. And, it's a Teresa Wentzler. There's confetti stitching. I just want to power through it and knock it out. The last time I worked on it was April 2015, so over a year ago. After that, we're working on Fortunate Traveler, another Teresa Wentzler design. Now, Fortunate Traveler, I started right after the state fair in September of 2003. September of 2003. And in that time, I have gotten this corner and the Traveler done. Haven't even worked in the picture or any of the words or anything. I last worked on it in January of 2004. Don't remember why I put it up, but it just hasn't seen any love in a decade. So after 2 confetti stitched Teresa Wentzlers, I needed something that's just mindless, work fast, don't have to think about. So I'm going to do Row Pace's Memory of Tide Pools, which is a counted canvas piece. I have this 41% finished, and it looks complicated, but once you've gridded the squares, it goes really quick because all you do is fill in the grids. And you just get in a rhythm, and it just flows smoothly. The last time I worked on Tide Pools was May of 2015. Then after Tide Pool, we're going back to Teresa Wentzler for Fall Carousel Horse, which is 30% complete, and I last worked on in November of 2015. I'm trying to complete all 4 carousel horses, all 4 seasonal carousel horses, and all 4 seasonal Mirabilia queens. I have 3 kids. It's kind of disconcerting to walk into a room and have your children standing in front of your stitched piece going, well, you got that one, so we really ought to give this one to Light, or well, if we give Light that one, then I'll take this one. And they're dividing out how who's gonna get what when I'm dead. And it's like, really, guys? Really? I'm not that old. So they've picked out that one of them is going to get the carousel horses, one of them is going to get the seasonal queens, and Light says Light has a preference for he wants a seasonal fairy set. So I need to find a seasonal fairy set that's not Teresa Wentzler, not Mirabilia or Nora Corbett, and I could use some help here. I found a Joan Elliott set, but they're just not speaking to me. So if anyone knows of a seasonal fairy set or another seasonal set that I could do, would appreciate leaving comments or links to it in the comments down below. So the next one that I'm working on is a Bucilla purse kit that I found in my grandmother's sewing room when she passed away. She bought it in 1943 for $3.50. It's a complete kit with all the hardware. It's got the silk purse lining, the needlepoint front, the needlepoint bridge, and the back is missing. But I found some needlepoint canvas that's the same size. I have completed the stitching on the front. I am working on the stitching on the bridge, and then I need to either count out or graph out the pattern for the back. And I'm thinking I'm going to do a monogram instead of the floral that is on the front, and because my grandmother and I have the same initials. So it'd be kind of cool to have a purse that she started that I finished with our initials on it. After that is Sentinel. I started Sentinel during Guilt-Free January in 2013, and I have completed this foot. And that's it. So hopefully we'll get a little bit more than a foot in working on it for 2 days, but it's 36 count, so I'm not sure. The next one up is Dragon Ride from Teresa Wentzler, and I started it when the magazine came out. And normally I keep my magazine patterns with the working copies and the stitched piece. However, Dragon Ride was last worked on in January of 2004. And sometime between 2004 and last week, I took the magazine out of the kit, out of my kitted project. It's not in the project bag. And I figured, oh, okay, I probably filed it with the Stitcher's World magazines. Can't find any of my Stitcher's World magazines. Have no clue where they've gone. However, I did find this Good Housekeeping pattern that was in my grandmother's sewing room that she had as one of her UFOs, because I have quilt pieces cut out of fabrics in the shapes on this. And I wasn't quite sure what to do with them, because they were quilt pieces, but there were no instructions or anything with it. Now I can figure out where she was and put that together, because now I have an idea of what the block looks like. So on Dragon Ride, I posted on my Facebook page that I can't find it. I can't find my Stitcher's World magazines. And Annette from Annette's Acres posted that it's available, the corrected copy is available on Patterns Online, because the magazine copy actually had errors in it. So my $6 of my May stash budget went to ordering the patterns online, Dragon Ride. So the next project is Crafter's Paradise. This was Main Street Crafter's Paradise was published in Just Cross Stitch in 2012. I started it, and the last time I worked on it was January 2012. So didn't get that far along, but the fun thing is back in the 1980s, Just Cross Stitch published another Main Street scene called The Button Vendor, and I have that hanging downstairs, and I've got a very similar linen to what I did Button Vendor on, and that's what I'm doing Crafter's Paradise on, and I figure they'll make great companion pieces once they're finished. So after that, we are doing the oldest whip in my stack. This is a dimensions kit called Rainbow Unicorn. It was part of a 3-part series. I have finished the first unicorn. I've started Rainbow Unicorn and Pegasus. Pegasus with butterflies, I think is what it's called. But I bought those when I was in junior high. I started them all when I was in junior high. I finished the one unicorn when I was in college, and here we are, and I still have not finished the other 2. So hopefully we'll get quite a bit further on Rainbow Unicorn. And the last time it was worked was before I started keeping my stitching journal. So that's prior to 2013. I know I worked on it sometime after the turn of the century, so it's been worked on sometime in the last decade. I just don't have a record of when. I could probably find it on my blog, but I'm not that ambitious to run through the blog scroll and see what year I worked on it. So that leaves me the last 2 pieces, 14 and 15, for Stitch May-nia, which are the carousel, the spring carousel horse and the summer carousel horse. Now, I should mention that the carousel horses are being done on 40 count linen. And with 40 count, you're not blending flosses. So I have converted these to a single strand of anchor from the blended flosses that Teresa Wentzler originally did the math. So here's summer. This is my favorite. Who's the least amount done? So in the off chance that I actually manage to finish something this month, I figure close enough to finish, I can have a new start. I am looking at La Di Da's Something Wicked, which, you know, that 3-part thing again. I did the Raven for Light. Something Wicked, I believe, is for James. No, Liz gets Something Wicked, and then James gets Boil and Bubble. And once I get Autumn Queen finished and can use the stretcher bars, I have Summer Queen to start. And if you look at the picture on my blog, you'll notice that these look more teal than the flosses I've pulled. Summer Queen and that just to me looked more wintry. So I changed the teals to greens because to me, green is summer. So once I get the scroll bars free, we'll start working on her. And that's everything I have for Stitch May-nia, but I do have a service announcement for you. This is what happens when a beagle gets a spool of Krennic. Just because the beagle chews on the spool of Krennic does not mean the Krennic is unusable. You just need to rinse it off, let it dry, and then you get to work with pre-cut strands. The dog did not eat the Krennic. I've actually used it all in the Believe that you saw earlier. Anyway, I want to thank the Flosstube community for all the support that you got getting me stitching again, because I had lost my stitchy bug, and watching all of you talk while I'm trying to stitch has been wonderful, and I appreciate all your help. Just so you know, I really love and appreciate you all. Thank you.